Hello everyone. Today you are going to hear about Zodiac. The Zodiac Killer is one of the most infamous serial killers in American history, responsible for a string of brutal murders and a series of cryptic messages sent to the police and media. Operating in the San Francisco Bay Area during the late 1960s and early 1970s, the Zodiac Killer was a cunning and elusive predator who terrified the community with his gruesome crimes. The Zodiac Killer's first confirmed murder occurred on December 20, 1968, when he attacked a young couple named David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen. The couple had been out on a date and had parked their car in a secluded spot near Lake Herman Road in Benicia, California, when the Zodiac approached them. The Zodiac was wearing a hooded jacket and carrying a gun when he approached the couple's car. He ordered them out of the vehicle and proceeded to shoot them multiple times. Faraday was shot in the head, while Jensen was shot 5 times in the back. The Zodiac then fled the scene, leaving behind a brutal crime scene. The couple's bodies were discovered the next morning by a passing motorist. The police were called, and they arrived at the scene to find the couple dead in their car. The Zodiac's signature Zodiac sign was found at the scene, a symbol that he would continue to use in future attacks. The crime scene was carefully examined by the police, who found a number of clues that would later help in the investigation. They discovered tire tracks and footprints, as well as bullet casings and other pieces of physical evidence. Just 6 months later, the Zodiac struck again, this time in Vallejo. On July 4, 1969, he shot and killed Darlene Ferrand and seriously injured her companion, Michael Mageau. The couple was parked in a secluded spot when the Zodiac approached them, claiming to be a police officer. He then fired multiple rounds into the car, killing Ferrand and injuring Mageau. The killer then fled the scene, leaving behind yet another gruesome crime scene. On October 11, 1969, the Zodiac Killer committed one of his most infamous murders when he killed cab driver Paul Stine in San Francisco, California. The killing was unique because it was the only known attack that the Zodiac carried out without a female victim, and it was the first time that he had been seen by witnesses. Paul Stine was a 29-year-old taxi driver who was working the night shift when he picked up a passenger who called himself John. John instructed Stine to drive him to the intersection of Washington and Cherry Streets in San Francisco's Presidio Heights neighborhood. As Stine drove to the destination, the Zodiac shot him once in the back of the head, killing him instantly. The Zodiac then proceeded to take a piece of Stine's shirt as a trophy and fled the scene. A teenage couple witnessed the murder and called the police, providing a description of the suspect and the car he was driving. The police response to the scene of the crime was slow, due to a miscommunication about the nature of the attack. The Zodiac was able to get away, and the police were left with very little physical evidence to work with. However, the description provided by the witnesses allowed police to create a composite sketch of the suspect. The Zodiac sent a letter to the San Francisco Chronicle newspaper after the killing, in which he claimed responsibility for the murder and included a piece of Stine's shirt as proof. The letter also contained a threat to kill school children, which led to the closure of several schools in the area. Despite the composite sketch and the evidence provided in the letter, the Zodiac was never caught. He continued to send letters and messages to the media and law enforcement officials, but he was never apprehended. The murder of Paul Stine marked a turning point in the Zodiac's crimes. It was the first time that he had been seen by witnesses, and it led to a massive manhunt by law enforcement officials. The Zodiac's taunting and cryptic messages to the media and the police also intensified after the killing, leading to widespread fear and panic in the community. The murder of Paul Stine, like the rest of the Zodiac's crimes, was marked by a level of sadism and cruelty that was shocking even for a serial killer. The Zodiac seemed to enjoy playing with his victims and the police, taunting them with cryptic messages and symbols and challenging them to catch him. The codes. The Zodiac Killer was infamous for his use of cryptic codes and symbols in his letters to the police and media. He would send these letters to the San Francisco Chronicle, Vallejo Times-Herald, and other newspapers in the Bay Area, often taunting the police and bragging about his crimes. The Zodiac first began using codes in his second letter, which he sent to the newspapers on July 31, 1969. The letter contained a series of symbols that he claimed would reveal his identity if decoded. The first code that the Zodiac sent to the police was in his third letter, which was postmarked on August 4, 1969. The code was made up of 408 symbols and became known as the 340 cipher because it contained 340 characters. The cipher was so complex that it took months for experts to crack it. The Zodiac's letter included a threat to kill more people if the cipher was not published on the front page of the newspapers. The cipher was eventually published, but it was not until 1969, and the Zodiac claimed that he had made several mistakes intentionally to make it more difficult to solve. The Zodiac also sent a letter to the San Francisco Chronicle on November 8, 1969, which included a new cipher that he claimed would reveal his identity. The cipher was made up of 340 characters, just like the previous one, and became known as the Zodiac Killer's 340 cipher. This cipher, however, remained unsolved for over 50 years, until a team of codebreakers finally cracked it in 2020. The message in the cipher was disturbing and revealed the sadistic nature of the Zodiac's crimes. He wrote, "I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner because I now have enough slaves to work for me." The message ended with a series of random letters and symbols, suggesting that the Zodiac was intentionally trying to confuse and mislead codebreakers. In addition to the ciphers, the Zodiac also included symbols and drawings in his letters. One of the most well-known symbols was a crossed circle, which he included in many of his letters and claimed to be his signature. He also included drawings of guns, knives, and other weapons, as well as gruesome images of his victims. The use of codes and symbols by the Zodiac added to the mystique and fears surrounding his crimes. It was clear that he was a highly intelligent individual who enjoyed playing games with the police and the media. Don't forget to subscribe, and may we never forget the lessons of history.